Good evening and welcome to IDG Chit Chat Live for the week of March 1st, 2016. Tonight we'll be talking about this week's episode of Finding Your Roots as well as a preview of some of the upcoming Genealogy TV. I hope everyone is ready. Hello everyone and welcome to Chit Chat Live. My name is Shannon Combs-Bennett. I am the creative director for the In-Depth Genealogist. Joining me this evening are Jen Alford, our publisher, Terry O'Connell, executive director, Valerie Eichler-Lair from Val's Roots, Melissa Barker, professional archivist and researcher, as well as Mary Kircher-Roddy from MKR Genealogy. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hello.
Good to be here.
Hello.
Yay! We have a large panel. That's very exciting. Lots of talking tonight, right?
Yes.
It'll be fun. Fun. So let's see here. Just a reminder for everyone watching, if you haven't watched Finding Your Roots, there will be spoilers ahead. just your little warning. But we have a lot of information to pass on, not only about the second to the last episode, but after we're done discussing that, we have some tidbits on a new genealogy TV show that just started airing, Relative Race, as well as some information on some upcoming shows. So stay tuned, everyone. Okay, so why don't we, since we have a packed, absolutely packed show tonight, who wants to start? Valerie, keep your hand down.
I didn't say anything.
If she starts, she'll keep on going.
Well, why don't we start with Relative Race, because we can get through that pretty quick, I think.
Perfect. So, Relative Race, now it just started, right? And it's relativerace.com?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When did it start? When was the air date?
It started Sunday, and I can't recall the time because I taped it and watched it later.
But they've been re-showing it a lot.
Have they? And it's on BYU TV, and then you can watch it online as well.
Okay, so it first aired on February 28th, Sunday, February 28th? Okay.
Yes.
Now, I don't get BYU TV, so since I don't get that, you said I can find it online. Do I find it on YouTube, or do I find it on the BYU channel? Or
I believe you can watch it directly at relativerace.com.
Ooh, that's even better.
Yes, you can, because I looked there. I looked. Make sure. I haven't seen it yet.
Really simple.
So, Mary
And they also have an app.
Oh, well, they're getting fancy. Yeah. So, Mary and Terry both watched the show. What were your impressions, ladies? Or do you want to give us a synopsis so people know what it's about, since if they're not sure about it?
I'll start with the synopsis, just so we can kind of, so you guys and everybody else out there knows what's going on with it. So it's a cross between Who Do You Think You Are / Finding Your Roots and The Amazing Race.
Oh.
So they have 4 couples. They must be married to be on the show. And what they're going to do is they're going to take their DNA and their genealogy and set them. They started them in San Francisco. They're ending them in New York City. And they have to go and do these goofy little challenges and then go spend the night with cousins that they've never met before.
Oh, dear.
Interesting.
Yeah, one lady made sure to comment and said, "Oh, I'm so glad I packed sheets."
I'm glad I'm not the cousin she was visiting.
I know.
Yeah, really. How embarrassing.
I will say when it started, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be really, really hokey. The people that they picked, I was like, there's not even many that I want to even root for to win. Now, they're going to win $25,000 if they are the first to get to where they need to be, not getting any strikes against them, and it all kind of plays together. But as the stories progressed, there were quite a few that I liked, and I kind of hope to see move forward within the race.
Well, that sounds interesting.
It is definitely very interesting. I think some of them their challenges were really easy, like find this store, buy something that has an RV on it, take a picture, send it to me, and then you'll get your next clue.
Oh.
Or others had to find this chapel, go get remarried, and
Oh, my.
picture and bring it to your cousin's house because they'll love it,
I thought it was interesting. I mean, there were some of the contestants were a little. I mean, there were one room that had all these dolls in it, and the contestants stayed in the room. And I don't know, they had the camera on them saying how creepy it was, and that sort of offended me. I mean, maybe they said it, but I don't think that really needs to get broadcast. Because what if those people's, I mean, they're staying with this new cousin that they don't know, and I just thought that was a little over the top.
Oh, it's the reality factor.
I was going to say, it was the reality TV portion coming through. I got it.
Yeah. But not, not nice enough. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because they are traveling to different places, and sometimes that you can get there, but then you just can get stuck in a traffic jam through no fault of your own and lose because of that. The other thing that I thought was really interesting was I'm 56. Today's my birthday. Yay! I can read a map. These people thought that it was a big deal to be able to read and navigate by a map, and I don't know, that school, it just, who are these people?
So in the beginning, they collected their cell phones, all the smartphones, and gave them burner phones.
Oh, I was going to say, there was no GPS? What?
So, yeah, and they were like, I don't know how to read a map. I don't know. Do you know how to read a map?
Seriously?
I was like, we were like 8 reading maps. If we couldn't read the map, we couldn't sit in the front when we went on vacation.
So yeah, that's my question. How young are these couples? Because that seems odd.
I would say probably younger than you, some of them. But then there were older couples,
Okay.
At least one of the
There
couples.
was one couple, I think, that celebrated their 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing probably early to mid-50s for them.
Mm-hmm.
A couple couples had younger-ish children, I know, than mine are. So they probably, at least a couple of them are in their 40s. I don't think anybody was really young.
Yeah.
I would say the ones that were that did the steampunk stuff, they were probably like in their 30s, like early 30s, if that.
All right, now I got to see it.
Just
Yeah.
this girl, like
That's
she
what we're gonna be doing
was
tonight.
like, I'm gonna hate this show.
I have a question. Is there anything where they have to do genealogy research or to look up a document?
The person that the cousin that they show up at their house knows how they're related, and they have like the ancestry DNA, and they kind of show brief clips of a tree. So they're not showing any of the work, but they're getting the stories. The one that was the most touching, I will say, this girl and her husband, they ended up at her uncle's house. Mom was adopted, didn't know anything about her birth family.
Oh, wow.
They brought Mom in as a surprise. And it was very emotional, and you could see it. Like, I actually teared up. I was like, okay, it's got me. I'll watch.
Yeah, that's the part that made me want to watch more of the show.
Yeah, and they were one of those couples I was like, ugh,
Well, it definitely sounds like it's going to be a show that will satisfy a lot of different tastes, I guess you could say. It should be fairly entertaining. Yeah.
Definitely agree. So, but Shannon, I think you will definitely like it because it's got that whole DNA factor.
Y'all are so funny.
Well,
You're
it's
right.
your thing.
You're right. It's my thing.
Your thing. You like it. And I will say on another note, the one young couple, when they ended up at her family's house, she found out that they were related to the Ted Bundy. It was Ted Bundy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was
No, it was Ted Bundy.
The serial killer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It wasn't him. It was the other one.
No, it was Ted Bundy.
Was it? Whatever.
It was
Her
Ted Bundy.
face went ash white.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it was
dear.
commercial. And then when they came back, she was laughing about it, and you're like, oh no, honey, that's fake. Ash white was reality. So it's gonna be very entertaining to see like who they come up related to when they are pulling these things out.
Well, we have one more announcement about upcoming Genealogy TV, and then we'll move into the Finding Your Roots episode. So, Who Do You Think You Are has been scheduled. Coming back the first week of April, so it's only about a month away.
No, so they pushed it up from May.
Okay, that was found on Facebook. I did just go look. Really,
no.
And I didn't see anything there. So.
Oh. Well, never mind. We don't have a scoop.
Well, and there's one more show that is coming up
Yes.
the long lost cousin or long lost family
Long Lost
that I
Family.
think starts
Yes.
on Sunday.
This
So
coming Sunday.
we're going to have 3 hours
the
of
other
genealogy TV next
Oh my
week.
gosh.
Oh, we're gonna have to up our show.
My
Yeah, I
husband's
have
gonna
it
hate
marked
me.
down from an official announcement or whatever that of Hoodoo starting on May 17th.
May
And
17th. Okay.
oh wait, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. That's Genealogy Roadshow. That was officially announced. Yeah, but
I didn't even see
I
that.
haven't.
That's good to
Yeah,
know.
Genealogy Roadshow, May
Genealogy shows
17th.
on May 17th. Okay. Well, then
Oh, oops.
We'll
then
figure it out.
we will pretend that the Facebook scoop didn't ever happen. Unless people can find it real quick. I'm out on Google right now looking, and my Google foo is only quasi working. So,
But it was on Facebook, so it must be true.
you know what? I bet you. Yeah, no kidding. No, I bet you they. Who do you think you are live?
That
Is
might
in
be-
April of 2016.
Mhm.
I
Somebody
bet you.
probably read that and started.
I bet you that's what happened
Oh,
because
yeah.
Birmingham, United
Birmingham.
Kingdom,
Mhm.
April 7th through 9th. Who do you think you are live? So
Yes,
if you're there, we'd love to hear from you. One day we'll get there, you know. And then
Okay.
so I think we've got through what we get through. Genealogy Roadshow is May 17th.
Mhm.
Long Lost
Family
Family is this weekend. Oh geez.
this
We're gonna have
Sunday.
We're gonna have TiVos and
TiVo.
DVRs, all sorts of recordings for Genealogy TV coming up. Ugh, my
Our
husband,
VCRs.
Okay, who's using an old
VCRs.
VCR?
what?
Value or not using a VCR?
No.
I guess I was gonna say, can you still buy
You're
tape?
coming out there.
Now, if somebody says Betamax, I'm out of here.
I don't think they see. No. All right. So I think that's it. Any other announcements we need to be making
Don't think so.
about anything genealogy related?
Nope.
Not for me.
Alrighty, well, let's move into the episode of Finding Your Roots. Now, I have to say that last week I admitted I didn't know who two of the people were, and people went. So, did the rest of the panel? And the thing was, you know what? On the program guide, they didn't have Juliana Margulies listed, so I didn't announce that she was on the show last week.
Oh.
And when I
She's the
saw
big
her
star.
come on, I was like, dude, I know somebody. Yes.
She's the only one that I knew of.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I knew Lydia, but I think I watched too much food TV. She's a chef, and
Well, I
she
knew-
was on there.
Right.
I knew the writer just because I'd read her book.
Ooh. Okay.
Mhm.
Then I want to talk to you because I want to know if the book's any good.
Yes,
Okay.
it's very interesting.
Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? So the name of this episode was The Immigrants. Azar and Lydia both were immigrants to the United States themselves, and Juliana, it was her great grandparent, if I remember correctly, who immigrated. So not too far off. Still, you know, fairly recent immigrants to the United States. That was kind of neat. Let's see here. Why don't we start with someone less known to the panel? Let's start with Azar. I found her story extremely interesting because it's a culture and a genealogy and a research facet that most Americans who are genealogists, let's face it, we're mostly European descent and very pale looking. So it was interesting to hear about another culture.
Mhm.
Did anybody have any? Jen said you've read her book.
Yeah, many years ago.
Okay.
But I thought it was very interesting. I didn't know a lot of the history behind, her life and her father was he a governor?
He was the mayor
A
of
mayor.
Tehran.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then to be incarcerated for 3 years without ever having been,
Tried.
tried for anything, it's kind of scary that can happen.
Yeah.
But not terribly surprising. But I thought it was really interesting, and just understanding, I was so young when all of um, when the government was being overthrown and all of that. I barely remember anything of it, but um, at least having that little bit of historical background on it, I found very interesting. And
Mhm.
to think of, someone who was used to being able to go to college and get educated, and then suddenly having all these things thrust upon them as
Right.
limitations. I just can't imagine how frustrating it would be. This is your home, and yet you're being treated as though you're nothing.
Well, didn't she say when she got here, it was the pictures that she saw on TV wasn't really her home?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm kind of learning that too. Some of you, if you've read my blog in the past, know that I have a diary that was written by my grandfather, and he was in Iran in the late 1950s as part of the MAG program, which is where the United States went to various allies countries and then taught them how to, maintain their military. And when I first read it, I found it fascinating because it was an aspect of the culture that, as an American, you don't necessarily get an insight into. Because he talked about being in Tehran and the architecture and going to the market, and he did meet with the Shah at the time, and visiting with different dignitaries and seeing how at that time it was very much I don't, it wasn't a Western culture, but it was a modern culture, and seeing that how he interacted and talked about his friends that he made and stuff. So I could see how if that's what your version of something is, and then you come here and all we have are the hatred and the the yeah, that stuff.
Bad
I
stuff.
usually can speak eloquently, but not this week.
Yeah.
The one thing I thought was really interesting about what she had to say was that they kill you by not letting you be who you are,
Mhm. Yes.
and that I thought was really profound. It's
Mhm.
just taking your identity from you and what makes you the person that you are. And for her, I think it was her. She was a university student or somehow at the university, and she wasn't able to attend. And she's obviously a very intelligent woman, and they just robbed that from her.
Right.
Yeah,
That would
that
make me very
that
frustrated.
line struck me too.
Yeah.
I remember reading, seeing what's on the news here,
Mhm.
during the revolution and the Khomeini period, and so
Mhm.
I found it very interesting, not knowing what it was like there prior to that. I
Mhm.
thought it was always like that. So when she
Right.
brought up how her father was the mayor and her mom was in parliament, and that she was, at the university, and, writing and doing all those,
Mhm.
what we take for granted, but all those
Mhm.
kind of things prior to that, when I had no idea. I thought it was always under strict rule and discipline, and
Mhm.
you know the tragedy. And so that part I thought was really good. And then, but yeah, and then it's even worse to have that robbed from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did find it interesting, because they talked about her writing and how her first big publication was under AZ, so nobody knew it was
Yes.
her.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then they made that connection to her ancestors who were poets.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and one of them was also that was also persecuted and then executed by the government. So there's a little bit of family replay there. Luckily, no one was executed in the later family stories, but the speaking out for what you believe in seems
Hmm.
to be a common thread there in that family.
Hmm.
Right.
So let's move on to Lydia, unless anyone else has anything else to say about Azar.
I'm good.
Okay.
I think
Good.
so.
Okay. So when we were talking earlier in the green room, lots of different things in the green room,
Green.
lots
You're
of different
fine.
things came up, and one of the things that happened with not only Lydia but with Juliana were the naming variations. Does anyone have anything to say about that? Because I found that interesting myself.
Anyone? Bueller?
I'll just say that I
Okay.
thought it was, we hear about naming changes in our ancestry, and I thought it was very interesting that with Lydia, no, with was it Lydia?
Lydia.
That they actually found something to tell her why her name changed.
And
A lot
how
of
it
times
changed, right?
yes, and how it changed, because normally we don't have that specific information. We just say it got changed here or it got changed here, but she could actually pinpoint when it happened and why it happened.
And with her
And-
name, it went back and forth twice, right? Valerie's probably about ready to say that, yep.
Yeah.
She can read my mind.
Go ahead, Valerie.
But no, but that how it changed twice, and how they had documentation of that. They proved that story to be correct, and then the order by the Mussolini, all Slavic sounding names or all Slavic names had to be changed to Italian, and of course, and then the border changes and country changes and so forth. So yeah, that I was going, yay, you finally got proof of a story,
Yeah.
that's so common. And then the other part of it, that part of the episode interesting to me was the change. At one point in time, there were like 5 or 6 different countries that owned or took ownership of that area. It's like, whoa. And we thought, our borders changed with counties too much.
Well, yeah, Europe had fluid boundaries for a while.
Yeah.
Even in the last 100 years, there was a little bit of fluidity there,
But I had no idea, I know of, German, that part and stuff, but a different country, and where it was, and it's just like, whoa, cool. So.
Oh, now you got the history geek in me coming out, because they missed a couple. But, that's fine. They can miss a couple. Nobody needs to know them all.
I wish you would have been my history teacher.
No, see, I am the result of having a father who has a master's in history and who was a high school history teacher.
That's why.
This is what happens when you become an adult. You know a little bit about nothing. No, wait, sorry. I'm trying to get the timeline straight in my head, and Valerie will probably correct me with her notes. But Lydia was born after the war, or right at the end of the war. Is that correct? Because it made it sound like when the Italians decided to leave, when it became part of Yugoslavia, her mother was pregnant and they stayed behind. Remember, they talked about her crying and watching her friends leave. And then it was 10 years later that they made the daring escape across the border.
And it was just her mom, and brother that left.
Right.
Right.
Well, wait a minute, what about her father? And then that's what they brought up about later, and that how he had to sneak over the border at night.
But what I was saying is, it was that she was born after. Okay, so she was hearing all the stories about World War II from her mother then, and I was happy that they brought up that they sent a lot of the Slavic. They weren't nationals, heritage, ancestry, the people of Slavic descent to concentration camps too, because I think a lot of people forget about how many people were sent. And then I was also, not as it was a good thing, but I'm happy they showed both sides about how then the retaliation against the Italians.
And the massacres.
Yeah, because, those types of atrocities, they're important to remember, not only for our family history, because, oh my God, we survived it, but so that we, history is always, in my opinion, doomed to repeat itself if you forget.
Right.
Very
true.
So somebody wanted to talk about how moving it was to talk about when they were on the boats and how they took everything with them. Who was that?
It was me, and she mentioned that they took the bones from the cemetery.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's really...
Dr.
And then I thought, what did they do with the bones when they got, wherever they were going? Did
Dr.
they
Gates
reinter
something
them?
about. Yeah, Dr. Gates said something about that's really uprooting.
Yes.
Oh, Skip.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
can't
was.
imagine that.
Yeah. Maybe they were, and this is me completely speculating because I have no idea, but maybe they were afraid that if they left them behind, they would be somehow disgraced, dishonored, disinterred, the monuments destroyed, so they didn't want their ancestors to be, treated poorly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only reason I could think, but since I'm not from those cultures or that land, I'm not quite too sure, or that time period, what the reasoning or justification behind it would have been.
Okay, I'm going to say something really bad.
Oh, okay. Thank you for prefacing that.
Go for it.
Now she's giggling. She can't do it.
That's no different than you going fangirl.
Come on, that was funny. It just makes me think of Find a Grave.
Oh, man.
You don't even know.
You're just terrible.
Come on, it's true.
Okay. So now we're all going to have to go out in the world, find a grave, huh?
I'm done. That's just what it made me think of. These people, they're putting them up in their, records say that they're there, but you just don't know.
Once again, official records can lie. Or, I'm sorry, have errors. I shouldn't say lie.
No, let's just say how it is. It lied.
Okay. They're wrong.
Malicious intent.
Oh, okay.
Even better.
So yeah, it was a interesting and moving. And did you all catch how she still talks Italian to her mama at home?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I liked how she said her heritage. She's how did she say it? She says, "I'm Italian, but there's Slavic in me too, and heritage is just defined by when the border changes."
Right.
Yeah, when she defined ethnicity versus nationality or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the J.K. Rowling episode of Who Do You Think You Are, where they went German, France.
Right.
Yeah. So, I'm keeping track of the time. Juliana Margulies. We should move on to her and talk about her for a few minutes. Pop, pop, fizz, fizz.
Oh,
come on! It was so cute that they showed the little guy. Childhood.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe that she didn't have a television, and now she's this huge television star.
My husband looks at me and goes, "It's because her father didn't want to see his work." He had to deal with it enough during the day. He didn't want a reminder at night.
Although it sounded like she didn't grow up in the U.S. A lot of her childhood was spent in foreign countries, so maybe that's why they didn't have a TV.
Yeah, they did say she was born in New York, and then she spent some time in England, I don't remember where, and then she spent some time in Paris. But it made it sound like she came back when she was a teenager, if not for college. At least by the time she was in college, she was back in the United States.
Yeah, but I think Speedy Alka-Seltzer was before that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody in the nation giggled.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these people, these stars, that they're from, their family is in the business. The Barrymores, that. I had no clue with her that her dad, even if it's just advertising,
Right.
No clue.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But that's okay, because, it just shows that these celebrities are real people, too.
Mm-hmm.
So she had a very interesting story, some of which they proved, some of which they disproved, some of which they shed some light on. So which of those stories that they share with Juliana made the biggest impact? Anyone want to go first?
The sinking ship.
The sinking ship, that they proved it actually sank?
Yes.
I think you starting with Skip laughing. Come on now, it's just a story.
Right. It's just amazing that this story, she described it as, oh, they hit an iceberg like Titanic. So immediately my thought is, oh yeah, whatever. And then
Here
they
we
go
go
on
again.
and say they hit a reef, and it really did, the ship went down in like 20 minutes or something crazy.
Yeah. They said only 200 of the approximately 700 passengers survived.
Yep.
And then the account written by the man who was,
Eyewitness that was there.
yeah, and how they were actually beating people off the boats so that it wouldn't capsize them because the lifeboats were already over full. I mean, how?
Oh, awful.
Yeah. I can
Survival.
imagine. Yeah.
I
Go
really
ahead.
liked the part where her grandmother had told her that there was warm milk on the boat when they got rescued, and then the eyewitness report that was in the newspaper talked about that they gave the children warm milk, and then the adults had hot rum or
rum
something.
and wine.
Yeah. So her grandmother must have been a child at the time.
That's what I got from that.
Yeah.
But that was really good because they took a family story that you say, oh yeah, right, sure, but proved it with a document, had the evidence of a document, and in this case was a newspaper. And of course that's when Juliana, really teared up, and of course I'm crying like crazy too. you know there's tears. So, but yeah, it was really touching because it's like it was for real. It put it into perspective that it didn't just happen over there or to somebody else. It happened to her. This was her grandmother, her great grandmother, and it's like I got goosebumps and then I started to cry. Oh, yeah, but
Have
and
any of you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Valerie.
the only other real quick thing is the newspaper ad. And
Yeah.
with the holiday hats, it's like, look at the comedy, the funny part of it.
Okay, so maybe this is me.
That's such a Jewish
particular.
thing too.
Such a Jewish thing. You're allowed to say that.
Yes, I'm Jewish, so I can say it. That was a very Jewish ad.
So is this no? Okay, now I'm actually kind of being serious. When they showed him as what document they showed him being a milliner on. Was it a census? Was it a census?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
My husband and I looked at each other, and this may be because we're overly educated, and we went, a milliner makes women's hats. Shouldn't it be a haberdashery? Are they going to say what are the different? And we started debating word usage on the census.
Nerds.
So we were overanalyzing.
It was 1910 for Pete's sake.
But and who's to say he didn't do both kind of hats?
That's true.
That's
Because the ad that came on next was a man with a
holiday hat.
man's hat.
But it was holiday hats.
It was. He was just a Mad Hatter.
Probably not for the Easter parade, though.
No, not for Easter.
Not the Easter parade.
Oh. Gosh. So her name I thought was interesting because she had always been told, now what was the story? That it had been changed because they were Spanish Sephardic, right? And they were hiding. And so they had changed it from like Margarita or something.
Margarita.
Right, and that's exactly what I had thought too.
Oh, really?
I thought with their surname, I thought it sounded Spanish, and that they were probably Sephardic Jews. And then for her to go on and the information that they were able to dig up was like amazing.
Yep. So they
How
went
far
back. They went back to the mid 1500s, if I remember correctly, in Bavaria, and I'm thinking that is far from Spain. And it was a German-ish spelling of a name, but obviously, there's still, if you think about the Spanish Inquisition and when it happened and everything, it's entirely possible that they don't have the records, but they did come from Spanish origins further back. But yeah, they were able to trace back to Bavaria, so that was pretty interesting.
That wasn't on their pie chart for DNA.
That's what I was going to say, but it would have shown up in the DNA.
I'm sorry.
Sephardic.
I had
It could have been a little bit of the trace stuff that they're not showing.
Yeah, but also
That's
remember
true.
that she showed as 90 some odd percent Ashkenazi,
With 96.
which I yelled out endogamy. Um,
Right.
category collapse. So a lot of that could be. I think, and I'm going to speculate here because of the instances of intermarriage within those communities, that it could have easily been that type of ethnic DNA could have easily been, I don't know, overwhelmed.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
right.
Especially since
Diluted or something.
if that was 500 years ago or more,
Yeah.
it could have weeded out. Because I mean, if you think about it, each generation you get less and less and less. And if it was a person or a family 400 to 500 years ago, you're going to have none or
Right.
very tiny bits according to the testing that's available in the markets today.
That's a good point.
I'm overthinking again, aren't I? You all have this
Possibly,
glazed
but-
look on your face. You're
It's pretty bad when the genealogist's eyes glaze over.
Oh my
And
Wow,
think of
you
all
hit
of-
rock
all
bottom,
of
Shannon.
listeners, keep it simple.
All right, so going back to pop, pop, fizz, fizz. But no, overall, I actually think this episode was pretty good.
It was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
They all are.
Go ahead, Terry.
They all are.
They all are. That's right. Because we want to keep the TV on the TV, right?
Absolutely. Keep the genealogy TV going.
Darn it, we're a booming industry.
You just don't realize
Absolutely.
it.
So we have just a few minutes left. This is your last opportunity if you think we've missed anything tonight. Anyone have
I would
any
just
final
like to
thoughts? Go ahead, Melissa.
I was just going to say, on this one show, and I think on maybe a couple of other shows, Henry Louis Gates mentioned when he would show a document, he said, we found this deep in the archives. And as a director of an archives, I have kind of mixed feelings about that term because deep in the archives, I hope that doesn't dissuade genealogists from looking for records because it's deep in the archives, and then, but on the other hand, I hope it gets genealogists off the internet and into archives.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
important.
agree with you, Melissa, because it was right around that point in time that they showed Johnny Cerny. It was so good. It's so good to see her with the microfilm. And
Yes.
and taking the time to show, even to put the roll of film on the reader, and then going through and fast forwarding the film, and that's not deep in the archives. That's
No.
pull open a drawer out of the cabinet and pick up a box. So, but I think it was right around that time, and I kind of giggled. So we were all on the same page on that one. But and it's not, but
Right.
I think. He's trying to also explain, though, that you do have to go deeper. You
do.
cannot just, whatever's on the internet, which is only about 10%. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, I have to go. You all enjoy the rest of the evening.
We're getting ready to say goodbye too, but I know you have a prior engagement, so have a nice evening.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, anybody else have anything before we close this evening?
I have a question.
Sure.
And since Jen has Jewish genealogy, when they when they're talking about them going back to the 1500s, that they consulted with Jewish scholars.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are listening, what would that mean? Does that mean someone who is a genealogist who specializes in Jewish research, or what are they talking about when they refer to consulting Jewish scholars?
It's probably a case of with Jewish genealogy, a lot of times you want to try and connect to someone who was a rabbi or very involved in the actual practice of the religion, and they kept meticulous records of the descendants of these various rabbis. And so I would guess that it was more a case of they were, able to tie into one of those histories. Is how they were able to find the information. But
So
I mean,
having,
it's
sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I
No,
was,
you go ahead.
I was going to ask you, so having a famous rabbi or a well-documented rabbi is kind of like one of those gateway ancestors we always want
Exactly.
for the royalty?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, just so that, because a current project of mine for someone is Jewish. I'm suspecting Ashkenazi, New York, the same time period, even, in the where they said about the largest amount of Jewish immigrants during that time period and all this, and, Lower East Side. I mean, this just fit right into this project.
Right.
And so then when they got, and then I've got, where this person's ancestor, one it says Romania, one says Russia, one says Austria. It's like, oh my gosh, which direction do I go? And it's like,
Well, I mean, the nice thing about if you get that New York connection,
which I have.
there is the Center for Jewish History. They actually house collections from 5 different Jewish organizations and have quite an extensive archives. And they have researchers there, and they have, I actually know a couple people who do research there. That's what they specialize in. And if you ever want to reach out to me offline, I will be glad to pass along their information. Maybe they can give you some hints.
Right, and I have that on the to-do list, but haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet
No, I
because there were other things, but it's just in preparation thereof, or to tell the, to advise this person, I recommend that this is where we go or that direction and so forth. So, great.
Right.
Thanks, Jen.
No problem.
Sorry, we went a little off topic, but it's
No,
not really
it's always
off topic
good info.
because they've had.
I've been
this
surprised how much Jewish stuff they've
I was
had
just going to
this
say,
Yeah.
this is like the third or fourth one, and then the Pale of Settlement, where it had it like 2 times in a row, and it's like, and now, and Julianne with Jewish is like, yes, I mean, there's something that's telling me there's a reason why this is coming up because of this project I have, so yeah, it's really good.
Skip is nudging you.
I guess
Thank you
so.
for that.
I guess so.
All right, ladies. Well, if nobody else has anything to say, we'll go ahead and wrap up for this evening. This is your last chance, by the way.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good.
awesome. So next week is the last Finding Your Roots episode. And as long as they don't change it, it's supposed to have Mia Farrow and Dustin Hoffman.
Ooh, that'll
We
be
know
a
that
good
this
one.
week they added a third one by accident, so it didn't tell me. So I could let you all know. But this one should be very, very interesting, I think, too.
Yeah.
So on that note, people, ladies, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you again in the near future. And remember, we would love to hear from you. Drop us a line in the comments below. Like us on Facebook, just plain old follow us on Twitter, or even just send us an old-fashioned email at editor@theindephgenealogist.com. And on that note, I hope you all have a great day, and remember to go in depth with all of your ancestors. Bye.
Bye.